On and off for the past couple of years, I've been developing a whimsical DOS-styled Metroidvania called Dewdrop Dynasty. It started out 3 years ago as a small project for me, my brother, and close friend Bonzo to work on. Our original idea was simple enough, just to create a small 30-minute title to release and get our feet wet with the process of publishing a game. Now fast forwarding to today, I find it funny how much that goal has actually changed, but I just think that's the nature of game development. It's honestly hard to guess how long a project will take you, especially when you have a full-time job and you're doing it on the side. Some weeks I can be incredibly productive, while others, I'm lucky to write a single line of code. But that's okay. Progress is progress, and sometimes it's like climbing up a mountain. It's best not to look up or down. One thing that's been exciting about working on Dewdrop recently has been creating enemies and bosses. They're such an important part of the genre, and it feels great to finally start implementing them. At first, it was a little daunting because I wasn't sure how many enemies I wanted and what sort of abilities they should have. It made me take a step back and look at the world and the story I created. Like, what sort of enemies made sense for each location? What did they look like and why did they live there? And after doing that, I found that the enemies kind of made themselves. Now the bosses have been even more fun to work on. They really feel like the glue for each area of the game, and I love how I've been able to use them to help tell the narrative. I've even started going back to old locations and created some mini bosses. My goal right now is to block out each main fight, then go back and bounce them later once they're all complete. That way I don't put too much polish or make an early boss too difficult while making other fights boring and just overall janky. The great news is all the boss artwork is done and each one feels like it has its own unique story and character behind it, which is super exciting. Now it's just a matter of finishing up the programming and testing them out in the game. I've also been trying to work on as many different areas as possible for the game so I can finally make a trailer. I've been anxious to make one for a while as they're a really important part of marketing the game, especially for generating more wishlists on Steam, which you can do right now, and it tremendously helps out the game and I would appreciate it. But it's not just locations I want to show off in this trailer, it's also abilities and bosses and some of the story, parts of which haven't been fully finalized yet, or in some cases even started. And that's partly due to me not being fully set on the storyline. It's hard to make cutscenes when you don't know what the story is because you're just going to have to remake them if you don't know what you're doing in the first place. So over the past couple of months, I've really tried to flesh out the lore and understand why the characters do what they do, what their motives, and all the other little secrets of Dewdrop Dynasty. Honestly, I'm super excited and I can't wait to show you how the story is going to turn out, but you'll just have to wait and see. But real quickly, before we continue, we just have a quick word from today's sponsor, Skillshare. I'm sure by now you've heard of it, but Skillshare is an awesome online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes, especially for anyone who loves learning and wants to explore their creativity and learn new skills. Back when I started getting into game dev, right away I knew that marketing was going to be an extremely important part of it. But the problem was I wasn't sure where to go or how to get started to even learn it. And that's when I found Gary Vaynerchuk's Context is Key class on Skillshare. It not only changed the way I viewed marketing, but it was extremely helpful with launching my game dev career, and I still use those tips to this day. I always say you don't know what you don't know, and that's why learning is so important. And for the first 1,000 people to use the link or my code will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Check it out and let me know in the comments which classes you guys enjoyed. Now, another important part for making the trailer is the music. I have worked on a couple tracks so far, but nothing has really stood out or felt right for me. In my mind, music can be one of the most overlooked aspects of your game. Just imagine if Undertale had a terrible soundtrack. The game probably wouldn't have had the same level of success. And as much as I would love to create the OST myself, I feel like what's best for the game is to hire a composer. This led me to make a post on Twitter to reach out and to see if there was any composers interested. And oh boy, I was bombarded by submissions, and I was completely blown away by how amazing and talented everyone was. But with that said, I'm excited to announce that we have found the perfect composer for Dewdrop Dynasty. They're going to do an incredible job, and I can't wait to show off some of their work, hopefully in the next devlog. Earlier I mentioned about struggling to find time to work on the game, and that's probably been my greatest enemy recently. Working on an indie game can be challenging enough without adding a full-time job onto that as well. Not to mention YouTube, which takes a lot of time, but has been an absolute blessing. It's because of all of you watching and the support you've shown me that pushes me to continue to work hard. Though I will say, bouncing back and forth between working on games, working on a full-time job, and making videos can be a lot to juggle at times. And on top of that, I also manage the Firith team, and we've been working on smaller projects like trying to find a publisher for our board game, the Keeyp or releasing the full version of Blizzard Blowout 64. And some of you may ask me, why not just focus on one? Well, because they all kind of depend on each other. And my goal isn't just to be a content creator here on YouTube, it's to fulfill my dream of creating wonderful experiences just like the way Ocarina of Time or Paper Mario did for me as a kid. But not only do I want to achieve success, but I also want to help others get there as well. And that's what I love about the game dev community here on YouTube so much. The support group of like-minded game devs here, encouraging and pushing each other to do better. You guys push me to be a better game developer, and I'm so grateful for it, even if it can be a lot to manage at times. With that said, I feel like I'm happy with the current state of Dewdrop Dynasty. All these little pieces and parts that I feel like have been floating around forever are finally coming together. And that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I'd be lying to you if I told you I wasn't terrified with the idea of releasing Dewdrop, not just because of the work that's left, but because of not knowing whether I've done enough. Is the game good enough, long enough, fun enough? And to be honest, I have no idea. All I know is I can do my best, and I'd rather finish it instead of dreaming about some perfect game, but not actually creating anything. My goal in the future is to create more devlogs on the series, though it's getting increasingly harder to show off without having spoilers. So if you have any ideas of what you would like to see specifically with Dewdrop in the next devlog, please let me know, as I would love to share it. Also, if you want to see the latest updates with Dewdrop Dynasty, make sure to follow me on Twitter, as I'm always teasing new things, new mechanics or characters. Also, please consider wishlisting Dewdrop Dynasty on Steam, as it helps me out so much. And last but not least, if you like to play a demo of Dewdrop or get early access to builds before the game is released, then make sure to join my Patreon for exclusive content. Link in the description. And speaking of Patreon supporters, I want to give a huge shout out to Skides, Rybread, Remtain, Luke the Duke, James Albert, and Heath Sargent, and the rest of the fantastic Patreon supporters. You guys make these videos possible, and I appreciate it so much. Anyway, that's it for me for this video. If you like it, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time for another game dev adventure. Peace.